We call it people technology.
It is a massive day in the Indian Premier League. We don't often say that, or maybe you've heard it enough, but today is truly important. You've got four teams with plenty to play for. Chennai have looked great. They won everything. Kolkata have looked great in the second leg. They've won everything. Someone's streak is going to end today as the two teams clash at Abu Dhabi. And then you've got a Bangalore Mumbai game that'll be keeping half an eye on this one. There's a possibility of three teams ending on 10 points, the way results go on this Super Sunday in the Indian Premier League. Match 38 is where our attention lies on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. It's a very good morning to Carlos Brathwaite in Barbados. It's a very good afternoon to Deep Dasgupta in Dubai. And we've got quite the day ahead of us. Deep, you're going to be off to that Bangalore Mumbai game in just a little while from now. But this one, Chennai Kolkata, as important, and the toss has already taken place. Owen Morgan's won it, and he's going to have a bat first, contrary to what worked for the Knight Riders in their two wins in the restart.
No, that makes sense because it's the same pitch which is being used as yesterday. So obviously it's going to play a lot slower, especially in the second half. Again, it's an afternoon game, so it makes a lot of sense to bat first on a used pitch that in the afternoon. I think that's a good toss to win as far as I'm concerned, especially looking at the KKR side where you have two top spinners in Narayan and Chakravarti.
Carlos, now in the last couple of days, almost since you've joined us, Carlos, this is possibly your fault that these pitches have turned slower. All of a sudden we're watching a very different sort of cricket. I'm guessing the conversation in the dugouts now is also on those lines. Suddenly we're thinking, right, look, this is a different UAE now. We've got to almost bat differently, bowl differently, think at the toss differently. You think that's happening right now?
Yeah, as soon as I come out to bat, the spinners come on, and unfortunately, as soon as I came on to T20 timeout, the pitches got slower and better for spin. Yeah, I think it would make sense to have that conversation. It's not the same set of decks that you would have had last time out. You won't see the big scores right away. I don't know if there'd be scope for the pitches to actually get better. You could find sometimes when pitches aren't used for a while, they can start slow, but the more moisture you add to them and the more you roll them, they can actually get better. So until that happens, yeah, the conversation in the dugouts would definitely be planning around trying to get to 140, 150 on a consistent basis, and knowing that if you get to 150, anything else is a bonus. But you prefer to get to 150 and then manage to scrape to 155, 160 than going out hell to skelter trying to get to 175 and only getting 130.
I think the question that almost asks itself at this point now is how do teams actually get to 160? Because they've fallen short while trying. And then, we know Kolkata are talking all about Brendan McCullum's spirit and whatnot, where they're playing this high risk, high reward game, Deep. How do they get to 150? With this sort of approach they've taken so far, what's likely to change today?
It'll be interesting. I think they've got the opportunity to bat, I think, on the best time to bat on this surface, which is the first innings. And I believe the top order will still go as hard as they've gone so far in this leg. Then I think they will kind of depend on Morgan and the experience of Morgan, Dinesh Karthik, and Andre Russell to kind of see if there are early wickets. But having said that, I mean, if it's turning, someone like Nitish Rana becomes that much more important. Shubman Gill, he's again a brilliant batter of against spin bowling. So I think they have enough, as in firepower in the batting to kind of see through, even if the ball is spinning and the pitch is on the slow side.
Looking at the way they've played, Carlos, are you in a game like this going to assign just a different pace or a different role to different batters? Even though Shubman Gill's happy to have a go from ball one, you say, no, no, today, Shubman, you, Nitish Rana, Tripathi have to bat differently, conservatively, and you'll have Venkatesh Iyer, Andre Russell, Owen Morgan, all play that high risk sort of cricket. Do you think that sort of thing could happen?
Not necessarily. I think they say they want to play high risk, high reward cricket, and you have to live by the sword and die by the sword. So one thing we found is that the new ball has probably been a bit easier to get away than when the ball gets a bit soft and it tries to get a little bit more loose. So if you're going to go high risk, high reward, you may be able to find yourself 55, 60 for two. And then you're ahead of the rate. You only need 100 runs off in next 14 overs rather than trying to play safe cricket, being 30 or 35 for two. And then when the ball is a lot older and a lot harder to score, you find yourself trying to chase the game. So if that's your blueprint, as KKR said it is, then you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You go hard from the beginning, try to get ahead of the scoring rate. You know you have Russell to come in, Kartik, Morgan if he gets in to finish the game, and they can get 160 in different ways that other teams can.
Now, if you look at how KKR have gone this season, you're also going to see a significant investment put into their striking in the power play. Venkatesh Iyer has been an absolute revelation. He features in the best strike rates in the batting power play this season. We were amazed deep at how comfortably he was playing Bolt and Bumrah and whatnot. What's the challenge like today? Do you see Venkatesh Iyer coming out hard against Deepak Chahar and the Shardul Thakurs and the Josh Hazelwoods that CSK have to offer?
Yes, I don't think he's going to change the way he's batted. The top order will go on because they have that experience to kind of uh, uh, kind of handle any kind of situation. But also the fact that if you look at that batting order, starting from Venkatesh Iyer to Nitish Rana to Shubman Gill to Morgan and Russell and everyone, they all are good players of spin bowling. So that kind of also helps. I mean, Nitish Rana is very good. Rahul Tripathi, Venkatesh Iyer, who's played so much of domestic cricket, you would expect him to be good, and he is good. Shubman Gill, Russell, Morgan, DK, all of them are good players against spin bowling or slow bowling for that matter. It's going to be very, very interesting how the CSK bowlers actually bowl on this surface, even their bowling attack. If you look at this, it's a very interesting matchup because
Yeah,
this kind of a pitch also suits CSK, and their kind of the kind of pitches that they really thrive on. I mean, going back to Chepauk, this is the kind of pitches that you would generally find at Chepauk.
yeah, yeah. And you look at KKR's batting power play numbers in this leg of the IPL. You look at them in the UAE. They've been a lot better in the UAE than they've been in
Yeah.
India. Now, they did play a few games in Chennai, so that you have to take into account always. But you could see the difference in just run rate. You're looking at nearly tens in the UAE versus 7.4 in India. Significantly better partnerships too. But Carlos, what we saw yesterday, same surface that was used between Delhi and Rajasthan, and Prithvi Shaw, Shikhar Dhawan, attacking batters in form were struggling to get it away. But for say a good innings from Shreyas Iyer and a very important innings from Hetmeyer, Delhi would have struggled to get to 150 odd. Does that in any way make you think about how KKR might bat in the power play today a bit differently?
Well, the result might be different, but I think the intent needs to be the same. You go there with a positive intent, you look to score off every ball, you try to hit a six off every ball. If it's not there, you come down to four, three, two, one, and your last option is to face a dot or to leave a ball alone. If you go there with that mindset to try to capitalize and maximize every delivery, then you find yourselves getting into better positions. And yeah, you may not get the 40 off 20 to begin with. It might actually be 20 off 20, but the positions you get yourself in set you up for a bigger knock rather than going out there being a bit more tentative, as some teams have done, and then found themselves in trouble trying to catch back the game and try to build a bit of momentum, which is a lot harder on slow turning surfaces. What I like as well with KKR, they have the flexibility to just chuck Sunil in at the 10th, 11th over, maybe
Mm.
after one of the timeouts, and just tell him go and have some fun. It's obviously a little different with five players out versus two, where he batted for the last couple of years in the power play. Um,
Hmm.
but he's a good player spin, and he adept enough to get them a quick score. So you're looking for that Hetmeyer type innings from Sunil Narine. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the same position that Hetmeyer played his in. So if I can get that 28 off 12 in the 10th over, it sets up really nicely the back end of the innings for Russell to bat against Chahar, Tucker, and Dwayne Bravo. I would love to see them take the initiative and give Sunil a go in the middle order, give him free reign, free license, and then allow DK and Russell to finish the end
Yeah.
against the pace.
Yeah, what you've seen in that KKR lineup is the same team, which we're not surprised to see. Chennai have made one change, though. It was one change that was expected. It was going to be a workload that would eventually have to, don't need to make a decision on Dwayne Bravo. So, in spite of how good DJ Bravo has been in the first two games, 6 wickets, also that very handy cameo with the bat against the Mumbai Indians, they've rested him, you think, Carlos, and Sam Curran, who's a more than able replacement, comes in. No surprises there?
Yeah, it's something we talked about, saving his body It is a tough workload. UAE is very hot as well. At least it looks so, seeing the guys' Instagram stories and stuff. Um, so,
we
so
can we
yeah,
can
I
ask
mean,
the right there. We can ask the what's I mean he's in his executive suite with
It's
the AC blast and all.
it is extremely hot. You won't find me on Instagram stories and all that, but yeah, I can vouch for it.
Yeah, sure, Carlos. So
yeah,
this is a big thing for Dwayne Bravo, who will have a big part to play in games going forward.
yeah, I know he have a big part to play for sure. Not only on the field, but driving the dressing room as well. And I love how CSK have planned. Obviously, with a big auction next year, you don't always get back the same people that you had and you were building with. But to be able to replace Dwayne Bravo with someone like Sam Curran, who is a match winner and who's someone that always seems up for the fight. You're basically not changing much. I mean, he's left hand bowler, left hand bat versus Bravo right hand bat, but that's pretty much the end um, of the differences. They always want to be in the fight. They always want to be at the end with ball or bat trying to win the game. So for them to be able to recruit that well is a definite tick in for the recruitment. And yeah, I mean, Sam Curran would obviously have to understand as well it may not be the way he's had it for the last couple of years, where he's been the main man or main all-rounder. Bravo's back. He's done it over a longer period of time, so they'll have to share the spotlight for that one spot unless the wickets stay low and slow and Josh Hazelwood makes way so that they both
Yeah.
can be in the lineup. But it's exciting times for CSK to be able to have both of them in on the roster.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thought. That's exactly what was going to come next. Dhoni did play into the temptation of playing both Bravo and Curran earlier this season, Deep, where he thought, let's have a nice long batting lineup. Josh Hazelwood wasn't available for that. Like he is now, and this is the UAE where a lot of teams are investing in their big, tall, overseas fast bowlers. Hazelwood's got one wicket in the last two games in 8 overs that he's bowled. He's going in about sevens and eights. Is there a case for if Curran has a good game today, then Curran and Bravo both can fit into the same CSK team?
It's a tough one, but you know the idea is what Josh Hazelwood or someone like Lungi Ngidi brings is a different dimension to that bowling attack. Otherwise, if you look at that bowling attack, it's very one-dimensional, if I may say. Someone like even Shardul
Yeah,
is almost the same kind. You have Sam Curran, and then Bravo if both of them are playing. So you would at times need one express bowler, somebody who can bowl around that 140, 140 plus, just to bring in something else. So I think from that perspective, and also, I mean, this is an afternoon game. In the evening games, you would expect, apart from Sharjah, that is, the other two venues to have a little more pace and bounce in those pitches there. So you would need someone like Josh Hazelwood, I think.
All right. Let's just speak a little more about the Super Kings. They're looking in terrific shape. They should make the playoffs with a win today. In fact, they're already in a good position to make the playoffs. They're already sitting on 14 points with a very healthy net run rate, the best in the IPL so far. Now, 16, no team has ever not made the playoffs with 16 points. So if you get there, that's great. But it'll take something to displace the Super Kings from their road to the playoffs now. Let's talk about what's worked for them. Batting seems to have really worked for them, in spite of that little failure at the top of the order against the Mumbai Indians. What we do know of the Super Kings is, if you look at just their run rate in phases, they fixed a problem that we were adhering to last year. Siddharth Monga's written a good piece on this as well on the side. If you go for it, that power game seems to now have found itself between over 7 to 16. Starts are steady. Ruturaj
Yeah.
Gaikwad, Faf du Plessis, you expect that. There are also a lot of chases here. But in over 17 to 20, they've also gone berserk. They've had some big runs towards the end. But Deep, that's a telling difference from 2020, the
Yes.
worst season of the IPL, to 2021, where they look like their best. They've just managed
Yeah.
to make sure that there is some impetus in that middle overs.
True. I think even 2020, if you want to split that 2020 into two halves, the last four five
Yeah.
matches and the matches before that, I think the change in approach more than anything else. I think what has also helped the Chennai cause is someone like Moeen Ali batting at number three. I think he's had
Hmm.
some really important contributions with the bat at number three, especially in the first leg. And the whole change in the approach of, I mean, obviously Ruturaj doing well and Faf and then Moeen. I think that just gives cushion to the middle order and also the middle order and the low middle order to bat a little more freely, and hence you see those changes in the numbers.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing because it's not like they've changed a whole lot of personnel, Carlos. You know, we was having that sort of chat on the Sunrisers yesterday. It's not like a lot of personnel change, but somehow it just didn't click for them. Here, couple of changes. Ruturaj Gaikwad's now a mainstay in the team. They started with Shane Watson last year, and Moeen Ali, who seems to have made a world of a difference. But there's also a difference in approach, you think, as much as personnel, where CSK have identified this is one thing we've got to make sure we don't slow down in those middle overs. Don't take the game deep. Instead, go hard and try and win the game earlier.
Yeah, change in approach has been fundamental to that. But I love the placement of Moeen Ali and Suresh
Hmm.
Raina as well. It would have been, I guess, safe to put Moeen Ali at five, use him as the batting all-rounder overseas spot, and maybe have him contend with Bravo and Sam Curran for two of the three of them playing as all-rounders. But they've told Moeen Ali to go at number three, express yourself, and one thing that I love about Moeen Ali's game is the tempo that he bats with. You find a lot of players who end on a good score, but the tempo throughout the innings is not always the best. I find Moeen Ali is one of the players in the world that, against pace or spin, finds a way to keep a good tempo. Save for the first 5 to 10 balls, he always gives himself a chance, but you never feel as though he's bogged down. So he has been fundamental to that impetus being shown from power play right through the middle. And then you have Suresh Raina. Um, Not sure how well his eyes are doing. We all get old, unfortunately. But it's well documented his problems against real high quality fast bowling, as good a player as he is. So for him to be down the order when the ball's a bit softer, we know how much of a great player of spin he is. So all of a sudden you've taken away his biggest he's taken away his biggest problem, quality fast bowling, and you've put him and shoehorned him to play what is his biggest strength against spin. So they've kept the same personnel, but they've rejigged the rules to make everyone as comfortable as possible and allow them to play their most free game and be the best self. So again, I don't know whose tick that is, whether the recruitment or whether Captain MS Dhoni, but you hear a lot coming out to CSK's man management, and there's a perfect example.
Man, everything at CSK is as per what MS Dhoni wants. Nobody else. No one else does things. Nobody. All right. But they've been so good, and it's worked for him. He's incredible. Dhoni managed to get so much more out of his team and his squad, and it's so simple that they've just made one or two changes, and they find themselves
Yeah.
among the teams with the best run rate this season. You don't know what that is? Well, ask Cricinfo. That's all you need to do. Let's ask him right now. Let's go to the AI. Let's ask it right now. I'm not going to give it a gender, but you should go onto the site and check out Ask Cricket for when you've got the time. Any specific T20 related stat, and Ask Cricket was the place for you. Let's have a look. Which team has the best batting run rate in IPL 2021? You got the Super Kings right up there at 9.27. That's an overall figure. Capitals 2, Royals 3, KKR for Mumbai Indians 5. With all their, might of playing in power. But yeah, that's it. Super Kings at 9.27. They've also got a great mix of pace and spin. Carlos talks about how Suresh Raina could possibly expect more of Lockie Ferguson or Andre Russell or Prasidh Krishna. There's also Narayan and Varun Chakravarti who've been terrific. They've also got a good record against MS Dhoni. May not see as much of that if CSK's top order continue to fire. But these are a couple of players Dhoni wouldn't mind, not coming into bat against. Let's just put it that way. Varun Chakravarti's got him twice in a much later stage of his career, so we put that in context. But he's always struggled against Sunil Narayan. I think it was only last year, Deep, that he actually managed a boundary or something like that, in spite
Yeah.
of playing Narayan for so many years before that.
Yeah. But the good part about CSK is one, they bat deep and they have the luxury of enough right-handers and left-hand batters, right? So they can always, and they have these batters who are flexible. They can play anywhere. So you can always have this left-hand right-hand combination going right to, I don't know, six down or five down or six down. So I think there's a lot which is going in favor of CSK. I think the only thing they really needed to change was the approach which they did in the second half of
Yeah.
last season, and they haven't looked back since.
Yeah, there's also a call that, of course, it's more for halftime on how Owen Morgan would use his bowlers because he's mixed things up a little bit. Varun Chakravarti's bowled in the power play. He's mixed it up. Nitish Rana opened the bowling in the last game. Lockie Ferguson, though, remains a standout addition to this team. We're looking at some numbers for Lockie Ferguson now. He's made a big impact You pick up Pat Cummins for a lot of money, and you think Andre Russell keeps his spot, Sunil Narayan would keep his spot, and Owen Morgan is captain. So it's hard to fit in anyone other than Pat Cummins. But Lockie Ferguson, since 2020, has the best bowling average for Kolkata. And also, if you look at how he's bowled in the phases he's bowled in, it's made a huge difference. He gets you wickets at the death, economies under 8. You think that's acceptable, Carlos, for a fast bowler? And he's also getting you wickets in those middle overs, 7 to 15. He's probably been, quietly had a big impact for KKR this season.
Yeah, I played with him in the 100. Had the pleasure of captaining him as well, and he knows
Hmm.
exactly what he wants to do, how he wants to execute, how he wants to get a batsman out. And he was very, very easy to captain, very easy to talk to, really understood his game, and you can see it from the numbers there. I personally think that the reason for bowling the spin in the power play is because the pacers are more suited to being enforcers. I see Lockie as that kind of guy who can get up to 145, 150, get the batsman on the back foot. Similar role to what Rabada does for Delhi. Um, and he's been doing it consistently, as you can see from the stats. And when you're getting wickets, you're bowling at 145 k's an hour, and you're bowling economically, is very difficult to do. And when you look at the sort of bowling attack that they've put together, Russell can go for runs, but he'll get you four, he'll get you a fifer. He's a definite wicket-taking threat. Um, and then you got Prasid Krishna coming off a good IPL last year, and the two mystery spinners. Um, I mean, there's one of the better bowling lineups if they all have the amount of versatility within the lineup. You heard Deep talk about not trying to be too one-paced or one-sided. You got Lockie, who's a little slingy. Um, you got Russell, who's a real hit the deck bowler, and you got Prasid Krishna, who looks to swing it. So although they're all three right-hand pacers that bowl 145, they do different things and have different dynamics. And then you got two mystery spinners. You don't need to speak about them anymore. So for KKR, having built that bowling lineup, Lockie Ferguson steps into it, makes that middle over enforcer and death bowling his own, and he's been doing fantastic.
The fact that Andre Russell's bowling at his best, Deep, you look at KKR's numbers, the Pacers' numbers, and you see they've been terrific in the UAE. It's just a few games into it now, but they're much better than they were in India. You knew Andre Russell was struggling a bit in India, but 11 wickets in the 22 overs in the UAE this season. Averages are difference. It's quite a difference there, and economy pretty good too. We were discussing yesterday with the Capitals, with the way Nokia, Rabada, Avesh Khan, and then Aksar and Ashwina, that whether that's the best bowling lineup. But you think quietly, if all these five click, like Carlos says, Varun Chakravarti, Sunil Narayan, Lockie Ferguson, Prasid Krishna, you're looking at Andre Russell, you're looking at
Yeah.
perhaps the best two. Maybe can you say one's better than the other, or KKR are right up there, but number two still?
Uh, right up there, I'd say, right up there.
Hmm.
But let's not also forget, for especially teams like Chennai, you've got Nitish Rana. When there are quite a few left-handers in the opposition, he can be a useful bowler who can give you a couple of overs as well. So yeah, and also the fact that helps someone like Morgan is the fact that you've got two spinners, world-class spinners who can bowl in the power play. So you can use his quicks differently. Generally what happens is you have your middle order in most of the teams where the batters are better against spin as compared to fast bowling. But with the fact that Chakravarti and Sunil Narayan can bowl in the power play overs, you can actually put in your Lockie Ferguson in the middle overs. And if when we're looking at those numbers, you'd see that he's predominantly bowled in the middle overs more than any other phase. So that becomes a little different kind of a challenge for middle order batters who generally are used to playing more spin or medium pace in those middle overs. There you go. I mean, he's just bowled
Mhm.
4 overs in the power play. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bulk of his overs have come in those middle overs, and that's where you just change things a bit for the opposition.
Yeah, we'll see how Lockie Ferguson goes today. Carlos, it didn't strike me. You spend a lot of time with him. You got an opinion on his mustache?
I'm not a big fan of the mustache, to be
Yeah.
honest. Not a big fan of the
Yeah.
mustache.
Or his
Yeah.
colored shoes, Carlos.
No, I love the shoes. I love the wheels. The wheels are flair. And it's real modern. So you go up here. I think he's sponsored by Asics. could be wrong.
Mm.
He gets a nice pair of comfortable trainers, and then he gets the spiked soles put on them. So yeah, it's comfortable, and he looks flare in them. So mustache, no.
Yeah.
Trainers, definitely yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you've got that mustache, it's a good chance everyone's going to be looking at the shoes. So you might as well get the shoes right. So that's what. Sorry, Loki, but I think I haven't met anybody yet who's given you the thumbs up for that. Including Dan Vittori, who sported that ridiculous beard himself not too long ago. Anyway, back to the cricket, and Chennai are going to be bowling first. Here. Dwayne Bravo's done a big job for them, Carlos, bowling tough overs. He's not there today. Does that role fall to Sam Curran, who you think more is someone to bowl you sometimes 3 or even 4 overs with the new ball? So who takes up that role then in Dwayne Bravo's absence?
I think Shardul Thakur could bowl in the
Hmm.
death overs. I think he kind of made a name for himself in IPL, bowling those tough overs. Remember, we got to the final as Sunrisers against Chennai. He was their
Yeah.
death bowler along with Bravo. Um, I think about the last five, he would have bowled two, Bravo two, and then Gidi one. So you could start to restructure your bowling attack in such a way that Sam Curran gets a bit with the new ball, see if it swings for him. And if it doesn't, he comes out and tries to bowl his cutters in the middle, probably one at the back end, maybe two. And then you're looking for
Hmm.
Shardul Thakur to be a main death bowler. So they have enough stocks and no better person than MS Dhoni to find a way to rejig. Was still a quality bowling lineup.
Yeah, it's an interesting one though, Deep, because Ingidi is not in this team. There are quite a few bowlers that wouldn't mind bowling out before the last five. Dhoni bowled out Josh Hazelwood, I think 15th or 16th over last game. Deepak Chahar, who we think is actually, under bowled at the death. Sometimes Dhoni doesn't like to go to him towards the end of the innings as much as at the start. You've got Sam Curran, Shardul Thakur. Would you like to see more faith in Deepak Chahar, the death bowler? And could we say that happened today in Bravo's absence?
Well, I think I mean he generally bowls one. I think he'll definitely bowl that one over, but I'm sure that he's not going to keep too many. Uh, I think what he does is he's flexible with his approach. He's got in mind one over from Deepak, maybe couple overs from Shardul, and an over, I guess, from Hazelwood or someone. But I think he likes controlling the game with his spinners, so I won't be surprised if the ball is actually turning or whatever. He might just get someone to bowl the 16th over, the 17th, or the spinners to bowl that over, because that's how he likes controlling the game with his spinners. More than the faster ball is the spinners. But again, Sam Curran has to bowl with the new ball to see if there is any hint of swing at all.
All right, it's a massive game. Players already out of the middle. Deepak Chara's new ball in hand. Venkatesh Iyer and Shubman Gill in the middle. One of these teams will lose in the second leg at the end of this game. Let's pick up that chat with Carlos Brathwaite. Deep Dasgupta, thank you very much. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. To join us at halftime.
We call it people technology.